And hello and welcome to the MovieBoozer.com Pubcast. I'm your host, Ken Ekman, and I'm joined today by Hawk Ripjaw.
Hi.
And Bill Leon.
Hello.
And Bill Arsenault.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, hey. I just rewatched Fargo the other day, so suddenly, anytime I hear someone say that, I just think, yeah, don't you know? You don't know. Yeah, I'll bet you. You bet you, too.
He was kind of funny looking. I don't know, he was just kind of funny looking.
Gotta love Minnesota. It's America's Canada. And if that doesn't make sense, then you've never been to Minnesota. So, this week, we have quite a bit to talk about. A lot of just movies. So we're kind of playing movie catch-up this week. All of us have seen different movies recently. Movies that are new either to us or new in general. So I'm going to go ahead and lead things off here. The first movie that I want to talk about really quick, because I have been waiting for this fucking thing to be released, because it's a 2014 movie that got a lot of critical praise, even though it didn't get any Oscar nominations. A Most Violent Year has been just sitting there like a disregarded sandwich or something, and I just keep passing by wondering why you made the sandwich. Why is no one touching it? Why is it just sitting there?
I feel kind of bad myself because the editor of our site, Zach, has been asking me to review this because I actually have a screener copy of it, and I haven't gotten around to it in the longest time, so I've been treating it like a disregarded sandwich myself.
Which it's kind of unfortunate because this is the second Oscar Isaac movie in as many years that has gone down like that, because Inside Llewyn Davis was delayed and delayed and delayed, and finally, right, in their infinite wisdom, Sony released the friggin' thing on the last possible moment before, in order for it to qualify for the Oscars, and then expanded it much like A Most Violent Year at the last possible moment in January. And guess what? Inside Llewyn Davis was ignored. This movie is even more so, and Oscar Isaac just can't catch a break, and it's
unfortunate. He's about to be in Star Wars, dude. Can't catch a break.
Yeah, the guy just can't catch a break. Poor him.
Let me ask you, other than Harrison Ford, when has Star Wars been a jumping off point for someone's career?
Hayden Christensen.
Mark Hamill has a very robust voice acting career.
I would argue, though, that the voice acting career is something he had to prove. He had to prove himself as a voice actor. It wasn't like he did Star Wars and suddenly they said, "Oh, well, Mark," they started getting a million phone calls for voice acting.
I don't think we're arguing that it's not a jumping off point for Oscar Isaac. Is that Oscar Isaac is in fucking Star Wars?
It's not even that, though. Like, he's got an established career, at least among guys that watch his stuff like us, because, like, I don't know. Right. I haven't seen A Most Violent Year, but we've all seen and like Llewyn Davis.
I understand that he's an established actor.
What I'm getting at is that these are different times. Like, back in the day, sci-fi could, like, pigeonhole you, and you would get trapped in that. But now, like, we live in a different time as far as that goes.
To an extent, although I will argue, and first of all, as far as Hayden Christensen, where has he been?
He's been with that chick from Hearts of Dixie.
So I think I've pretty much made my point there. You kind of have...
Yeah.
Just being in Star Wars is not it's not a guarantee that you're going to be a huge celebrity.
But okay, on the flip side of things, you have a new Trek. Chris Pines. I don't know what Chris Pines was doing before that, but Zachary Quinto? He was doing stuff before that. Simon Pegg, Harold Cho. What is his name? John Cho.
Harold Cho.
He plays Harold.
Yeah, I got it.
I fucked that up. That was an honest mistake that I just made.
Well, let me go ahead and just... my point being, this movie has been ignored, and I finally had a chance to see it this weekend, and after a lot of deep thoughts, it's not a perfect movie, but it just squeezed in for me in terms of my top 10 list of the year. It made it within the top 10, and actually, it's we're going to be talking about that in our next podcast. But the fact is, this is a solid drama with a very interesting kind of reverse gangster story. In most gangster stories, the plot is this gangster rises to the top and he's trying to get out. This is kind of interesting in that Oscar Isaac's character, the movie's set, first of all, in 1981 in New York City. His character, whose name is Abel Morales, is a business owner of a heating oil company within New York. And as the events of the film take place, he's kind of besieged by all of his competitors who are using dirty tactics to try to run him out of business.
The dirty tactics of the heating oil business.
Well, we're talking hijackings, we're talking threatening employees, we're talking...
That's insane.
Physical violence, we're talking political pressure. They put pressure on local politicians to investigate his company, even though the practices that he's doing are no different from any of his competitors. So he's at the beginning of the movie, he is just a pretty standard up and coming businessman who's trying hard to get his business going and to get it big. He's on the verge of a deal which could potentially make him the top heating oil company in New York. And over the course of the film, as he struggles so hard to maintain his respectability as a businessman, he finds that in order to succeed in business in New York, you basically have to turn into a gangster. And he gets no help from his wife, who is basically egging him on, and in many ways is more frightening of a character than anyone else because she has no problem whatsoever with morally questionable activities and crime. And in fact, one of the reveals. This is not by any means a big. You have your suspicions throughout that she has been cooking books for him without him knowing, and it turns out to be exactly the case. Very interesting concept in that it's basically the message of the film is to succeed in business, you've got to be a criminal. And it's a really fucked up nihilistic movie, and I appreciate that. And it's bolstered by a wonderfully complex performance from Oscar Isaac, who honestly, and this is why I was complaining a lot about him not getting more cred recently, is the fact is his performance in this reminds me of 1970s Al Pacino. And 1970s Al Pacino could do no fucking wrong.
Yeah, okay.
It's this was when Al Pacino could do subtle performances and didn't just have to shout all the time. Ever since Scent of a Woman, Al Pacino has not been the same man.
If Zach was here, he would bring up Jack and Jill.
Yeah, well. Point being, his performance is fantastic. Albert Brooks is great in this movie. I mean, it's not as huge and nuanced and great and crazy as he was in Drive as sort of the main antagonist. He plays the Oscar Isaac's attorney, who is hiding some of the criminal activities that his business is performing from Oscar Isaac, and it's a really interesting character in that when you see Albert Brooks, you expect him to be this kind of eccentric character, and he plays a more grounded person in this, which is kind of, it's an against type casting, and I appreciate it. Also worth noting, from Selma, David Oleowo plays a police detective who's a district attorney, not a detective, who's investigating Oscar Isaac's company. And in a typical gangster movie, this character would be sort of the antagonist, but like the moralistic antagonist who has the moral high ground. but over the course of the film, you get to see you get to see that there's corruption at every level in this in the construct of this society, and that's what made the movie fascinating for me. It is a little bit slow paced, and so it's a movie not to approach with expectation of it being perfect. But I had so much it in so many ways. I think it impressed me that I think as a follow-up to the completely thematically different film All Is Lost, director J.C. Chandor has a great career ahead of him.
Cool.
All right, so that's one film that I saw. I am going to turn it over to one of you guys for one of the other movies because I have another movie that no one else saw to talk about later. So, I know that you.
Yeah, I saw American Sniper last night,
mm-hmm.
and it's pretty good, I guess. Kind of. It was a very good film with a lot of things that just stuck out that really bugged me. One of those being the rival sniper, which. I can totally dig the dramatic tension of having a rival sniper and someone to an actual person to clash against, but he knows parkour for fuck's sake. This sniper spends at least a couple of scenes running across buildings and leaping over rooftops and alleyways, and it's just kind of ridiculous. In the movie, that's kind of supposed to be grounded in reality.
My understanding is it was in his book that there was this one sniper in particular who had a reputation on the other side. I didn't read the book, so I can't speak to how close the description is to the movie.
They never met.
Right, it very much feels like a Hollywood conceit.
They never met in the book. Chris was like, yeah, there was a sniper, but I never saw him, and I think somebody else killed him.
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of conflict never actually occurs in the book. Also, one of the things that made me laugh was this. There's this amazing, unintentional Team America moment in the movie where they're driving their Humvee towards this enemy car, and one of the terrorists jumps out and fires an RPG, and it whizzes past the head of one of the U.S. soldiers and blows up the building behind him. Mm-hmm. And it was just this ridiculous little moment that I had to really fight myself from laughing because I didn't want to get murdered in the theater. Because the people who love this movie, will fight tooth and nail. For its quality, they're saying how amazing it is. One person on IMDb said it should be required viewing because it's so incredible. And it's not that good. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's not amazing. I don't think it deserves the Best Picture nomination. It is not on my top 10. I thought it had really strong dramatic tension with the with some of the war scenes, and the depiction of him having PTSD was really powerful as well. Mm-hmm. But one critic actually pointed out that he felt that if all American Sniper was that extended teaser that was the film's opening scene, then American Sniper would make a really fantastic short film, and I would wholeheartedly agree.
Oh, absolutely. That's easily the most effective scene of the movie, and of course it's just about the first scene in the movie. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah,
I've seen that part.
Agree with that.
And there are other little
that part.
There are subplots that don't really work out, or they're just never closed up. Like his brother just doesn't go anywhere. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I find little things about this film that bother me. But it was good. It's just I don't understand. I mean, I guess I do understand why people are loving it because it's it did really well over the weekend again, and I thought that was funny that people are kind of treating that as news, like shooting terrorists wouldn't be the top grossing movie on Super Bowl weekend. It doesn't get more American than that.
Oh yeah.
But without a doubt, American Sniper I thought was I would call it a solid military thriller, but the message of PTSD I think is very well thought out and put together. But I do agree there's a lot of flaws to it and conventions to Hollywood which keep it from reaching the highest heights that it get
I
to.
thought that Catherine Bigelow's pair of movies were both stronger than American Sniper.
And I do want to take the time to mention that we have been joined by Jake Turner. And hi, Jake. Just to fill you in on where we are right now, I'm sure you've picked up that we're talking about American Sniper at the moment.
Yes, I have.
And Hawk has just seen the movie, and so he's giving us kind of his thoughts on it, and we're commenting. So with that, I actually had a question, Hawk, that I wanted to bring to you. I mentioned this kind of in Facebook earlier. I had heard a critic point out that in their opinion, American Sniper could have been handled, or that the subplot in the movie involving the rival sniper could have been handled better if they never actually showed the rival sniper, if they kept it as this unseen force of nature that no one knew. They only saw, the results of his work.
I don't think they should have had a rival sniper at all. I think if they didn't show him, that would kind of wouldn't have any sort of dramatic tension. It'd be too frustrating with an unstoppable force that no one could do anything about. So I wish they would. What?
Sniper X, like Racer X.
They shouldn't have. She shouldn't have been a character in the movie at all.
Well,
at least they should have toned down some of it.
If you remove the scenes that actually show that rival sniper doing things, though, and keep it as this unseen force, I think it would have heightened the PTSD aspect of it, because Bradley Cooper's character is so convinced that it's this one particular person. But by not showing him, it would leave some doubt in your mind, thinking maybe he's just obsessing a little bit on this, and it would leave that question open as to, is it just one guy, or is it a lot of different snipers? And
well, if they framed it like that, that would have been really interesting. I would definitely like to see that. I'd actually be curious to. I wonder if it would benefit the movie if a fan edit actually recut the movie to be like that. It might work out.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask, like, could that be accomplished through editing, or do you think, like, or would they have to do reshoots, or like, rewritten scenes, or that kind of thing? I think it could be accomplished with editing.
I just feel like
hold on. What were you saying, Jay?
I just feel like it kind of tried to put like a superhero vibe on it, and I was one of the guys that absolutely loved the movie, but am I saying it's as great as Platoon or Saving Private Ryan? No, I'm not, but I am saying it's probably one of the better war films I've seen in a while. But to that aspiration, though, when they did try to heighten it up, I just kind of felt like they were just kind of going a bit too easy with it. It was effective, granted, but it kind of took away the story of Chris Kyle in that way when they introduced us to the sniper, because everybody was like, oh, I hate that guy, and I'm like, well, then it's like Casper Troy from Face Off, pretty much, or Goodfellas,
Hollywood.
Like that.
It's a very old Hollywood manipulative thing to have the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you
I
gotta
really
look
hated
at, like,
how they.
Hollywood never wants to go accurate with their stories. They really don't. They like to emphasize on certain things and then try and make it their own. I mean, we've all seen it. And
look no further than, for instance, from the early 2000s, Enemy at the Gates. If you're looking at another movie about snipers,
I didn't like it.
Snipers. I enjoyed the movie from a visceral perspective when I first saw it, and I have to admit I'm a Ed Harris fanatic.
I am too.
I love his performance in that movie. Ron Perlman's small cameo in that movie is wonderful. I think the cinematography is excellent. The director, Jean-Jacques Anat, has done some wonderful movies in the past. It's a deeply flawed and Hollywooded up movie, though, and it completely, if you know the actual story of Vasily Zaitsev, and he actually did have a legend has it, of course, you can't really trust Russian news reporting. There was a sniper duel between him and this German.
Whoa! We don't support any anti-Russian comments.
Well,
I could not imagine a worse way of executing Kyle's killing of the rival sniper, though. That was so cheesy and so fucking bad.
It would have that sequence. What I was gonna say was that sequence where he snipes the guy from like a mile or two away.
Yeah.
Would have actually been a lot better if we never saw the sniper to begin with, like what Ken was suggesting, because then it would have just been.
It is worth noting there have been confirmed sniper kills from that distance. In fact, further,
Yes,
I
sir.
believe there's a Canadian sniper who I think killed someone from nearly 2 miles away.
Oh, I don't have a problem with the distance. I have a problem with the way they did it. They a CG bullet flies out of the rifle, and then
Oh,
the film
yeah,
slows
yeah.
down to
Yeah,
24
Hawks
frames
dead
per
on
second
about
as it
that.
zooms in on his face. It's stupid. It looks ridiculous.
Right. When you get out of the movie and you get out of the atmosphere after, you kind of just start nitpicking it. You're like, well, wait a minute,
Mhm.
why was this so real? Otherwise, you're like, when you're in it, you're like, oh, America, America, get the guy, and then pretty much when you walk out, you're like, was that really necessary? Because I felt like the strength of the film was trying to show that it wasn't a pro-war film and it wasn't an anti. It was pretty much authentic in its way with the PTSD, deploying, whether you're stateside or you're deploying. It's very difficult to try and sustain a relationship in military families.
Mhm.
I just medically retired from the Air Force, and it's still going through that kind of stuff right now, trying to get used to the civilian world, and it's very difficult, and I actually appreciated that. But yeah, some of the stuff in the movie was pretty cheesy. It was kind of like America hero for life and all that stuff. But
I kind of
I can see what you're saying.
I compare the way this movie succeeds and fails similarly to the Mel Gibson movie We Were Soldiers.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's a very entertaining movie, and it does have a lot of historical accuracy in it, but the areas where it departs from history start to get questionable, and you can nitpick the hell out of both of these films if you want to. I actually have read the book We Were Soldiers once and beyond, and compared it to the movie, so I've done that sort of stuff to that, and both are very entertaining military thrillers from that aspect. And there's a lot of really interesting history and information in it. It's just those areas where it departs and Hollywood's up a bit that become frustrating to viewers. And I think even if you don't know the history behind it, like you're mentioning with the bullet scene and such, you can pick out those moments that are like, they're pushing it here.
It was a very strong movie. It was well directed, but there are just moments of just really frustrating Hollywood moments that just really kind of pull out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I preferred both of Catherine Bigelow's war movies over this one.
I agree on that. I loved The Hurt Locker. That's
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite movies. And I will say this about We Were Soldiers. You brought up a very good point there. Have you ever seen the film The Messenger with Ben Foster and Woody Harrelson?
You know what? That's been on my Netflix queue for about 2 years, and it's one of those movies that, because of the content of it, I feel like I have to be in a special mood to actually sit down and watch it.
It's a very tough film to get through, but the performances are outstanding. But they really tap into what it's like to be those two guys that have to knock on the person's door and say, your spouse, husband or wife, has just died. And in We Were Soldiers, they kind of just like tack that on, when they got Madeline Stowe and Kerry Russell walking down the road and doing the job themselves. And I kind of felt like that was kind of Hollywood.
It felt tacked on. I think it felt like to me they probably had producers saying,
manipulation.
They probably had film producers saying, we need to give the female actresses more to do in this movie, otherwise no one will see it. Mm-hmm. The character. The character in We Were Soldiers who I think is the most fascinating is, and again, here's an acting element that I'm a huge fan of Sam Elliott.
Oh yeah.
His character was actually a combination of two sergeants, but the combination of the two, it was really fascinating the way that the characters put together, and having met a few career non-commissioned officers, I have to say the way he played it felt incredibly it felt like I mean, I'm not having military experience myself, I can't say that it was 100% authentic, but having met a few in my life, I can say I felt that authenticity.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Sam Elliott was great in that. Greg Kinnear was good in that. But I always say my favorite character in that movie was Barry Pepper because he played a journalist that was stuck in the middle of this, and then when they told him to fight on, here's a gun and go help us and everything, he realistically said, I'm not a soldier. That's not what I was intended to do, and he chickens out, but you're trying to show the realism of what it's like to not be in the military and what it is to be doing your journalistic duty. Like, you always talk about all those guys like Richard Engel and Geraldo Rivera and all them who have been there before, and Brian Williams. But let's be honest, they don't have military experience. They're just doing a job for a specific network, and that's one of my favorite characters in the movie.
And I don't want to rant about this movie too much because obviously it's not American Sniper.
Sorry,
but that is a movie because I believe it's still on Netflix. If you haven't seen and you're looking for a comparison in terms of the way it's handled, I would say American Sniper and We Were Soldiers work on about the same level in terms of things that you'll find to appreciate and things that you will find frustrating. Ultimately, they're both, I think, very good movies, but they fall short of the higher tier.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I liked it for what it was, and I'm just going to stick with that because that's the kind of Clint Eastwood I like after being immensely disappointed with Jersey Boys. So it was good to see Eastwood get back to his roots with Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima, and kind of that role.
You know, I actually liked Jersey Boys, but then I didn't see the musical. I don't know. I mean, I didn't love it, but...
I thought that the American Sniper came dangerously close to self-parody, especially in the first half, the number of times people get punched. Chris Kyle punches a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
Like, one of the funniest, like, again, this does a couple, like 2 or 3, like, Team America moments. They break into that Muslim guy's house, and like the first thing he does is like smack him in the face with the butt of his rifle, and he's just mean.
Well, it's good that they don't hold back on that aspect of him, you know.
Right. He runs out,
and to be fair, if you are in a combat zone, I think it's probably hard to hold back. I mean, you probably have to occasionally use force, judiciously, and in this case, in order to ensure the lives of yourself and your comrades as well.
I think what made it funny for me though is that the second scene in the movie, not the second scene, like it was like a few minutes in the movie, he catches his girlfriend cheating on him, and she's like, he's about to beat up the boyfriend. She's like, "Why do you always have to punch people?" And no,
so
don't get me wrong. I think
you're saying that in the biography.
you're saying Hawk, that set the tone right there.
Right. The movie was good, and I'm not knocking it for anything other than a couple of like really annoying Hollywoodisms. I'm not saying I hate America or anything like that. No.
Hawk, what you're doing is you're actually analyzing the movie and its mistakes, but you're not going all political on it like everybody else is.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that it came dangerously close to propaganda, to war propaganda, but it did not quite go there, so I can appreciate that.
I think I consider myself more qualified than a lot of people to define the difference between a war film that's propagandistic and not, because when I was a kid, when my dad would take me to the video store, I would be the one who would rent movies like John Wayne and Back to Bataan and The Sands of Iwo Jima and movies like that. And I still, to this day, find those movies fascinating, and I actually own quite a few of them because they are viscerally entertaining. But you have to take the story with a grain of salt because they are literally designed. Anytime you see that Republic Pictures logo, the key is this is going to be an America fuck yeah movie. And actually, I mentioned Back to Bataan. It was actually a pseudo-sequel to a movie not starring John Wayne, just called Bataan. And that movie is pure 100% propaganda in that there are lines that are there's lines that calls Japanese people monkeys and stuff. It's a really offensive movie. And from a historical standpoint, as far as film, it's important because it was actually released within 6 months of Pearl Harbor. Bataan and Wake Island are 2 war films that were put out incredibly quickly because these were battles that took place within days of Pearl Harbor, and it was just amazing how quickly they rushed them out, so you could call them the earliest American World War II films. But at the same time, these films are, like Wake Island, for instance, the movie ends with everyone on Wake Island dying, which did not happen. In fact, many were taken prisoner. So yeah, there's. Well,
I
it's
have a
because,
question for Hawk.
Yeah.
For American Sniper, do you feel like with the Super Bowl commercials that we've seen, and with American Sniper being the #1 film on Super Bowl weekend and all that stuff, do you just feel like that it's kind of just touching into the generation after the Iraq War, and that kind of stuff is just going to be keep being produced? Because, like your point, Ken, you brought up Bat to Bataan. We also think of movies like Midway and Tora 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 and all that.
Certainly.
It just
There's
depends on the generational aspect that they're used to at that. I mean, would you agree on that?
It's almost kind of frightening to go onto the IMDb boards for American Sniper because it's more or less a witch hunt for people that did not like the film.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Dissenter, like literally, anyone who dissents the film on IMDb,
Mhm.
they will get they'll get just flooded with hateful comments, and it's just kind of frightening that so many people who like this film are just one note, like America's the best and fuck everybody else, people, and liberals are terrible, and they even go there like 90% of the comments are anti-liberal, all that stuff.
I thought the film was okay. What do you want, American? What, you want to be deported? I
Yeah.
don't think so. You better
Yeah.
I
shut your
just
mouth.
consider it's a movie. It's a great war. It's a good film that wanted to be its own. Had a couple inaccuracies, but seriously, let's move on. I mean, come on. I mean, dropping politics in this and being all hateful and calling people derogatory names. That's just so immature. That's high school stuff.
I'm actually surprised that the movie isn't creating more cynicism, considering the generation it came out in. Like you were just bringing up, Jake, about generational opinions and everything.
Yeah.
I kind of have always thought millennials as to be more cynical, more against the grain like that. But
I think this could be a good companion piece to Jarhead.
All things move in waves,
That's
though.
a great anti-war movie.
One thing to remember from the political spectrum of filmmaking is all things move in waves. There was a time when Hollywood was ultra conservative. In the 1950s, Hollywood mainstream was backing Joseph McCarthy's witch hunt against communists. And
Guilty by association.
Right, and then fast forward 5 years, and those same people who are blacklisted as communists are suddenly emerging as some of the biggest stars and of filmmaking and screenwriting. The movie Bridge on the River Kwai won an Academy Award for screenwriting, and they couldn't give it to the actual screenwriters because they were blacklisted.
Wow.
They gave it to the novelist who wrote the book that the movie was based loosely on. And so it's just a political spectrum thing. And then, of course, obviously, things moved into the territory in the late 60s where you start seeing movies, like you mentioned, Tora 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 and Midway, and there's also the Battle of the Bulge. These movies were huge epics that weren't doing very well financially, mostly because of the fact that people were starting to no longer want to see these huge epics. They wanted to see smaller human stories, and then you see the collapse of Hollywood and the new Hollywood movement, and suddenly war films that come out are darker and more. You have The Deer Hunter, for instance, which takes a deeply cynical perspective of warfare.
Now wait a minute, Ken. Wait a minute, Ken. Wasn't the Battle of the Bulge a porno?
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
That was the only reason why I cut in.
If the Battle of the Bulge was a porno, then it was a porno that starred Charles Bronson, and I'm not.
I'd watch that.
Oh my god!
I think it's time to close up the box on American Sniper.
Yeah,
I think we talked this one to death.
I think we've done enough.
So, okay, American Sniper. We covered that.
I want to talk to Bill about Project Almanac.
I want to hear this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fascinated because
what do you got, Bill?
Well, first of all, okay, just give me a premise, give me a synopsis for the people that don't know.
Okay, the movie.
Wait, really quick. Was this?
Go ahead.
A quick yes or no, and then we can go into it later.
Yeah.
Is Is there any? When I see the trailers, I was like, "This definitely looks like something that was from Nickelodeon Studios."
No.
Yeah, Clock Stoppers. Were you thinking that, Hawk?
Jonathan
Frakes,
Frakes.
like Clock Stoppers,
Jonathan
like Teen Kids
Frakes!
in Trouble, like
No. This was from MTV.
Well, yeah, I know.
No,
Viacom owns them both.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe there's a connection. But
It's kind of the conspiracy.
I'll get into my feelings on this in a second. The movie is about a nerd scientist kid, senior from high school, who starts. The movie starts as a video that his sister is making of him to get into MIT. You know, he's showing his invention. Like,
That's
hey,
gross.
yeah, I know, right? He just made this drone that he can control with his fingers, and just motion controlled, and he's showing it off with his friends and everything, and it really just comes off like B-roll footage as opposed to something that's been edited for a college, you know, because there's a lot of outtakes in it which are supposed to make the audience feel good, but it really just makes you confused. Like, wait, they sent this to a college? So the movie starts off with them explaining the core conflict in the movie, which is that the initial conflict, which is that he wants to get into college, but his family's poor, he can't afford it, and his friends are nerds, no one likes them, you know, that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden he finds that his dad's old science projects, because his dad used to work for what is it, DARPA?
Oscorp.
Oscorp, yeah.
Yeah, it's Oscorp.
Skynet?
No. There's an actual scientific organization.
I think it's DARPA,
called
right?
DARPA. Yeah,
Right.
that's what it is. And
The
his
Defense
dad,
Advanced Research Projects Agency.
right? It's the place that Alex Jones hates.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, anyways, he out of nowhere he finds this old video camera which features his 7th birthday or something, and he sees an image of himself from the present day in the mirror of the video, and he's trying to figure out how the fuck did his image get in there, and through this discovery he finds out that his dad was working on a time machine.
Uh-huh.
Kind of a shaky premise, you know what I mean? Kind of really shaky how it gets to that point. But from there, it kind of gets a little fun. You know, they start pulling apart the different pieces. They take stuff from hardware stores. They take an old Xbox graphic card and they use it to create this time machine thing.
So that's
and the girl
fiction.
yeah, right. So he uses like a car battery. He does all these different things to create this time machine. And so, they end up going back like a couple minutes, then a couple days, then so on and so forth, and then shit just starts happening like ripple effects. You know what I mean? Like you step on a butterfly, it causes all kinds of shit,
Right.
and the movie ends.
Really?
Wow, I gotta go see that.
It looks really, it looks really stupid.
I made it seem a lot worse than it is because I'm kind of dealing with a cold right now, so I'm I'm not giving the best synopsis possible, but
Okay. How was
but
the acting?
the acting was fine. I mean, I had no
Okay.
issues with any of that.
All
I can't really think of one person that stood out to me as being bad. I guess the father character, but he was only in it for a few minutes, and no one really cared about that, so. It was probably the way he was written. He was written like, okay, you're the father, act like a father. That's all because the character wasn't in the movie. He was in the movie at the end. He was only there at the end. The rest of the movie, he was like dead.
Son, I'm glad you found this time machine and you fixed it.
And you were
up
able to come and visit me, right? Yeah.
Went and got Great Sports Almanac.
I love you, son. The end.
Actually, that's exactly how it.
Are you kidding me?
Well,
Wow.
there's a couple more minutes later.
January is a terrible month. Ugh.
I just made all that up. In like a 2-second span, I just made all that up, and you're telling me that's how it ends.
Bill Leon, that's that's the climax of the movie, and I'm being dead serious.
I've heard that there's kind of a very frustrating over-reliance on referencing time travel movies. Like, they even reference Bruce Willis saying that Looper that time travel doesn't need to be explained or something like that, and then they use that as a way to not explain the whole concept of time travel and timelines.
They don't really do that, although they do mention Looper directly. They're like,
more
because they're teens.
More.
Yeah, but even then, like,
thriller.
How many teenagers saw Looper? Like, what the fuck? Check the box office returns on that. I want figures.
It's rated R. What the fuck?
Yeah, I want figures on that.
No teens go see R movies.
Looper was awesome. I own that movie.
Right.
Looper's
Looper's cool,
Johnson fan.
But here's the thing, Looper was from like 3.5 years ago or so.
2010.
Yeah, okay, even further, 5 years ago, damn it. So if the kid's a 15-year-old teenager now, he would have been 10 years old. So there's no fucking way he saw Looper.
Bill...
Well, dude, Ken, I've seen R movies when I was like 9, so I mean, you find a way.
Yeah, yes, but Looper wasn't exactly a financially successful R-rated film.
It doesn't matter. People are you suggesting teenagers aren't individuals?
I'm saying the only
make
people
up their own
teenage.
It's like Dread. The only people who went to see it were people in the know.
No, whatever.
I don't want to get
Netflix. Looper's not on Netflix, but yeah, Dread picked up a following on Netflix too.
But
and
someone
I mentioned Dread because I actually saw both of those films on the same day. So
speaking of which, I'm not. It doesn't matter. Go on.
And they both bombed.
Someone had a question for me about Project Almanac.
I want to ask: does this feel like a found footage version of Back to the Future?
No. It is found footage. It's found footage very loosely. What I mean by that is, it even forgets that it's a found footage movie by the end. Like they kind of use it at first, but then they're just like, you know what? Let's just have the camera appear, whatever. You know, let's just forget
ghost cam.
Right, exactly. They forget the entire concept of the film, and so do the actors. Like, the guy who's supposed to be holding the camera suddenly appears on camera.
Even you describing this film is like deeply frustrating me.
I know, right?
It sounds like Mordecai all over again for
Well, the movie reaches its the movie reaches its height in entertainment when they time travel back to Lollapalooza from a few months prior.
Months?
Yeah, just a few months prior.
They go. I thought they were going to like Lollapalooza in the 90s.
That would have been cool.
Why don't you go to Woodstock in 1969?
I was thinking that too, but I mean,
way too much credit.
That would have required money.
Yeah, I know.
This was
you're missing the best part. They go back to Lollapalooza from a few months prior, and the movie literally stops dead just so we can see a concert. And the concert is Imagine Dragons.
Oh no!
Because they're popular.
Okay.
No.
Maybe it was sponsored by the new MTV show Awkward.
I was hoping for James Franco as Alien.
Yeah, really, that would have been better. It's literally just them. It's literally just them dancing around, sweating, saying, "We're friends. We love each other. We're having a great time." Yeah.
Did they drop X before this?
No.
So
then that doesn't make sense. Whatever.
So would you say this movie? So would you say like the characters were pretty much forgettable? Like overall, this is just a entertaining but forgettable movie. Like maybe like a C+ kind of way.
I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Like, it's dead in the middle.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it like a C-. You know, it's not.
4
it's
beers.
Not yeah, 4 beers is about right. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not. It's really nothing to write home about. You know, there's some entertaining moments here and there. There's actually a few creative uses of time travel. Very loosely creative, not terribly so, but it kind of okay. You know, there's this one stupid part in the movie where our main character, he reveals to one of his friends that he has used the time travel device multiple times by himself, which he wasn't supposed to do, and he ended up causing a ripple effect, causing death and destruction and all this other shit. And so he's like, I gotta go back in time and fix all this. I know what to do now. And he's being chased by the cops because
Come on, Doc.
the
By the
cops
time cops?
No. You see, the cops think that he kidnapped. Shut up. The cops think that the cops think that he kidnapped his girlfriend, and what had happened was his girlfriend accidentally saw a past version of herself, and they confronted and canceled each other out. They both disappeared, so they think he kidnapped her. So he's running away from the cops with a camera, and
somebody is obliterated in this movie.
Yeah, someone gets
obliterated. He didn't kidnap her. He killed her, is what he did.
He erased her from time, and the cops are after him, and he's like, "No, I can fix this." So he's got the camera.
Wait! That doesn't. What? I mean, I don't understand this. Like, that wouldn't mean she never existed, right?
Wouldn't that create a worse ripple effect?
Yeah, I know, right? Wouldn't it? I don't know. They never get into that. But the fact is, he runs from his home to school, but while being chased by the police. These are like the worst police ever, because he literally runs past them at several times, and you can hear him in the background like, "Where's this kid? We gotta find this kid. He's somewhere around here. We don't know." And he's carrying this big bulky camera on his shoulder. He's got like a backpack with a time machine in it. He's just racing. It's all very convenient and laughable, but it's not the worst thing in the world, and it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. So 2.5 out of 5 stars.
Okay. Glowing recommendation there. Thanks.
Four beards.
I would check it out just for the heck of it. Why not?
I would check it out because I have Movie Pass, but that's it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a good reason to check it out, is because you have Movie Pass.
Okay. Well.
So I just looked up the director of this movie. The director of this movie.
Yeah, he's done nothing. Why are you wasting your time?
It's Michael Bay's
good
correct.
friend.
Well,
you
who
are
is
correct.
it?
Okay. May I talk now?
Yes.
The director of this movie is named Dean Israelite, and according to IMDb, he is the cousin of Jonathan Liebsman.
Oh yeah, I forgot that I read that. Yeah.
So I just thought I'd bring that up because I thought that would be relevant.
Gosh, we're gonna get another Texas. Chainsaw.
I had to direct the movie.
Oh man,
that's pretty bad.
So the next movie that I want to talk about quickly here, because I'm sure it'll probably get it may get expanded within the next week or two, is Black Sea. Kevin McDonald's new movie. It is playing in limited theaters. I managed to. It was screening in my area, so I got a chance to see it with Jude Law, Scoot McNairy, Ben Mendelsohn. Really a interesting and fantastic cast. I saw the movie a couple nights ago, and you know what? I really enjoyed it. But at the same time, it does have that slight feeling where I enjoy it now, and it's probably the best. Well, it's probably the best movie of 2015 so far. But it's one of those things that's going to drop off pretty quick.
Wait, you haven't seen Black Hat?
Bill, don't hurt me like that, man.
Actually, I liked Black Hat. I would be talking about Black Hat right now, actually.
I think Black Hat looks like fun.
So.
That's what some people say, but it's actually, I don't know, I liked it. But go ahead, Ken, Black Hat, Black Sea,
Black Sea Hat.
Black Sea Hat.
Black Hat and the Black Sea.
So I saw Black Sea Hat, and the plot of the movie, it's actually kind of funny because the Wikipedia plot, do not read the summary of Wikipedia because it actually gives away a plot twist, which is bullshit. It gives away a plot twist, but in a way that's clearly written by someone who hasn't even seen the movie.
Not as bad as the Reservoir Dogs DVD.
That's true.
That shit.
Wow.
But anyway, or Planet of the Apes. Sure.
Do they do that on there?
The DVD cover of Planet of the Apes is.
Yeah, that's true.
Statue of Liberty. I mean, that's like.
It's like hello.
Anyway, black semen hat.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Wow.
Come on, let's be mature.
Okay. So the plot of the movie is quite simple. Jude Law is a worker for he's a submarine captain for a undersea salvage company, and he gets laid off amongst a bunch of other workers for this company. And within a day of being laid off, a fellow laid off coworker comes to him and says, that on his last couple of days of working, he discovered this intelligence about a sunken submarine in the Black Sea that may contain Nazi gold. And there's a whole backstory I'm not going to get into. Needless to say, there's Nazi gold in the Black Sea, and Jude Law and a bunch of Scotsmen and a bunch of Russians band together in order to basically get this
obtain
gold.
it. Yeah.
Yes. And the plot is, I would say, a pretty much a by-the-numbers kind of heist flick, made better by Kevin McDonald's fantastic, very effective direction and flair for visuals. I really enjoy Kevin McDonald's direction in the film, and I think the performance from Jude Law is really good. In terms of submarine movies, though, this is not like a high-tier movie. If you're, at all a fan of submarine movies, I would put this around like if you enjoyed U-571, it's that kind of passable entertainment. It's a great watch on a Saturday afternoon kind of movie.
That's probably a good comparison to make is
So-
that movie. Yeah.
So you would say that this is a little bit below Kevin McDonald's last film, State of Play.
You know what? I actually didn't see State of Play, so I know that's one that I need to see. But Last King of Scotland, I actually rather. A lot of people hated The Eagle. I rather enjoyed The Eagle.
That's all right.
Touching the Void, good movie.
I'm gonna go ahead and use up my my obligatory Mark Maron joke and just say I'm so proud of that a member of Kids in the Hall is getting to direct drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, just to explain, there's actually an episode of Mark Maron's podcast, which is called What the Fuck with Mark Maron. He actually, the episode is called Kevin McDonald and Kevin MacDonald. And at the beginning, there's like a 10-minute intro where he explains that the person who helps him book people for his show told him, hey, a guy named Kevin McDonald says he's interested. And in Mark Maron's head, he thought, ooh, Kevin McDonald from Kids in the Hall, this is going to be great. And
Which makes perfect sense. He's a comedian. It makes perfect sense to think that.
So on the day that it's supposed to happen, this one random Scotsman comes to his door and he has like his handler with him, and the way he explains it is just he went on with the interview and he completely played it straight as in, oh yeah, I was expecting you, even though he had no clue, and he was like he had to Google this guy at the last minute, and in order to have any clue what he was about to talk about.
Right.
And if you listen to it, he covers his ass really well. It's clear that he at least he knew about Last King of Scotland, probably via Google. Point being, it's a really funny interview, and then the second half of the episode, he interviews Kevin MacDonald from Kids in the Hall, and it's a pretty straightforward thing, but the story behind that is just hilarious. I just wanted to mention that in order to explain.
So, speaking of prestigious directors, Michael Mann, Black Hats.
Yeah, prestigious directors. Tell us about it.
Yeah, what's a prestigious Michael Mann movie?
What?
Heat, Thief, Collateral,
Ali.
Public Enemies.
Nobody said Manhunter?
I just heard Manhunter. William Peterson.
Yeah, I said it right as you were mentioning him.
No one mentions
Michael Mann is.
No one mentions The Keep. Anyone see The Keep?
I haven't, and that's one of.
That's probably his worst.
He disowns that movie, but from what I've seen of it, I actually kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Mann
really
has a
good
pretty
things about
cool
Thief.
style that I really dig.
He's a great. He's my favorite director. I love his style. I love his style.
Bill, I'll say that like ever since the original trailers for Black Hat, I've been kind of on board with it, but I have yet to see it.
Yeah,
Okay, well, if you guys want, you can ask me some questions about it, just like what we did with Almanac. But I'm going to start off by describing the opening sequence, which really kind of pissed me off at first and made me laugh. But granted, I understood why he did it later on, but the movie starts. They're in a nuclear reactor facility, and the camera zooms in to a computer monitor. And the camera then goes into the computer monitor, and we see all the inner workings of the computer, and then we go even further, and we see computer wires, fibers, microchips, all that kind of stuff. And then we see little signals, almost like we can see the virus that's about to be uploaded to the malware, as they call it, that's about to be uploaded to the internet of the nuclear reactor, and we see it in the form of lights. Like there's a light right here, and then we see it beam across a tube and another wire, and then slowly it hits the main computer, and everything goes to shit. This made me laugh because it was like it was all done in the Michael Mann suspenseful style, but it was applied to looking at computer hardware. You know what I mean? It was like taking something kind of smart and applying it to something dumb. Like if you've ever seen like movies like Hackers or what was that? What was that? What was that? Right. Or what was that Patrick Stewart movie where he takes over?
Masterminds.
Masterminds.
You brought up Hackers, and I've never watched Hackers, but I actually, for some strange reason, as a teenager, read the whole script of it. So
Yeah.
I've read the script of it, but I've never watched it.
Well, I think you should watch it, but no, you bring up movies, you talk about movies like those, and in movies like those, the directors feel like it's a good idea to bring up computer hardware to show visuals of the inside of a computer, so that somehow the audience will know the inner workings. But really, it's just showing us visuals of inside the computer. It's not doing anything, and so Michael Mann, to ramp up the tension, what's about to happen, what's about to happen, he's showing us the inside of a computer. So it's just kind of frustrating and a little why are you applying your awesome style to something so mundane and ridiculous? And that set the tone for me for the rest of the film. I was like, is this what I'm in store for? And luckily he ended up breaking out of that. I think the movie's much better than that. That's just me though. But that's how I wanted to start this conversation. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them my way.
Was Chris Hemsworth good in it?
Yes.
He was. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they kind of throw away the fact that he's this muscle-bound hacker. In one scene, he's walking down a hallway or something with this female Asian woman, which Michael Mann seems to really like, or at least lately like. I think he has a thing for Chinese women or something. I don't know, but yeah, right. He's walking with her, and she's like, prison must have changed. You look a lot different than in your photographs. Prison must have done some good for you. And he's like, yeah, babe, look at me, and and so we do see him working out in prison in a couple scenes. So it's assumed that he went from zero to hero in the few years he spent in jail for hacking crimes. So they kind of brush over that fact.
That is sort of prison cliche, is that there's nothing to do but lift weights. So
right.
I can kind of see them using that.
They kind of brush over that and are like, okay, Chris Hemsworth is a hottie, but here's why, and there you go.
You can get TV in jail now.
Yeah, you can. Well, he didn't get TV in jail. He was stuck in solitary confinement because he's a hacker. He could hack into a TV, But what are you guys worried about? He's in prison.
See, Bill, you should understand this more than anything. I'm guessing the jail of the prison of Black Hat is like the prison of Ernest Goes to Jail.
It was a little tougher than that. They pepper spray his ass for no reason at one point, but which was kind of funny. And I give the movie credit because the next scene he still had red in his eyes. So
I Odin's beard.
So the continuity was there. Yeah, really.
Had to make the Thor jokes. Had to make the Thor jokes.
But no, Hemsworth does a good job. He plays it very serious. This is an international incident, and I'm going to help out and everything. And he does well in the role. I think.
Okay.
But the The movie's strengths are not the acting. The movie's strengths lie in the style, I think.
Okay.
Thank goodness. That's good to know.
Any other barbs or whatever you want to shoot my way?
I don't have any.
As long as it wasn't as bad as Miami Vice, I'm good.
I don't know. See, I have a lot of critic friends who love Miami Vice and are like devoted followers of that movie, either ironically or unironically. I think most of them are pretty genuinely on board with that film.
I think, I mean, Michael Mann is. I haven't seen Black Cat, so I can't speak to it, but he's been on a bit of what I would call a hit and miss kind of vibe lately, because the last 3 movies he's directed, in my opinion, are movies that have a lot of great elements to them and a lot of failed elements. A lot of opportunities. I'll say that. Public Enemies, for instance, the storyline is handled it's just a piece of shit the way they handle the story. But the direction is solid. It has some of the best music editing in movie. And the soundtrack is fantastic. The performances are good. It's just the way the story is handled is fucking dull.
It's very haphazard.
Yeah.
I would actually, for those looking for the exact same storyline handled brilliantly, look for John Milius's Dillinger. It's a fun, entertaining action film, and it's got Harry Dean Stanton in one of his greatest performances, by the way. So
you're absolutely right about Public Enemies. I enjoyed the heck out of the movie because when they actually stick to the FBI cat and mouse chase with Dillinger and the FBI, I actually was really into it. But when they were trying to give us a biography on John Dillinger and his girlfriend and all, I just kind of felt like it was taken away from the movie. I mean, the story was in the trailer supposed to say Dillinger versus the FBI and how the FBI catches him. Because I wanted more Christian Bale and more Johnny Depp interaction than I got. So,
right,
but yeah,
absolutely.
Because the action in that movie is classic man.
Oh yeah, the action in the movie is fantastic. It's just
yeah.
There's so much padding in the movie that is so uninteresting, and if they had written it well, and it could have been okay, but it just wasn't. And I would say that Miami Vice has similar flaws, although it's a little bit. I mean, it's definitely a straightforward action movie. Collateral is a movie that I know a lot of people love, but I have a very simple problem with the movie.
Oh, jeez.
There's a point where the movie should have ended, but instead they turn it into a ridiculous, unbelievable action scene. The scene where Jamie Foxx crashes the taxi cab.
Yes.
I think that in my opinion is the film's climax. I think Tom Cruise should have died in that car accident. Here's my explanation.
Okay, go ahead.
My explanation behind
this is in my top 10, so
okay, well,
time. Oh yeah, I love Collateral.
Why I would have ended the film that way is after the movie, in the current cut of the movie, after the car accident, Jamie Foxx gets away, and it turns into kind of a chase from that point. But this is where Jamie Foxx suddenly he's an expert with handguns. He's able to beat Tom Cruise in a pretty straight up, quick draw element sequence. There's this whole "you've got to save the girl" thing, which it just to me feels like it's not as deserving as the rest of the movie. On the other hand, if they had ended the movie right at that car accident and having Tom Cruise killed there, you would have had this character who throughout the film did not have the upper hand suddenly doing the one thing he knew how to do, and that's drive, and he would have killed Tom Cruise with his weapon. I think that would have been a great theme.
It's always going to be my top 10 because Collateral is one of my favorite movies of all time.
There's a lot to love. Don't get me wrong.
I see what you're saying though, but I actually felt like that's where the strength of the movie became because he was able to go from this mild-mannered taxi driver to a guy that basically said, "Okay, enough of this. All right, I'm going after this guy. I'm going to stop him, and I'll make sure that nothing else happens." And I actually kind of felt like it kind of put us in that movie atmosphere because it was really gritty, it was really enjoyable. But let's be honest, this is what I love about Michael Mann, is that he takes that style, he makes it authentic, boom, unbelievable finale. And that's what he did with Heat that I really loved, was the scene where he was chasing him across a fully loaded plane hangar, sprinting across with a shotgun. Nobody's coming near him saying, hey, put the gun down or anything, Pacino or something. No, they're just letting him go do his thing. That's what I love about Michael Mann, is that he just knows when to turn off the authenticity and skyrocket up the entertainment. So I can see what you're saying.
I'm glad you mentioned Heat really quick, because this is going to be a non sequitur. This is going to be a non sequitur here. When I was a kid, the first VHS that I I had a lot of VHSs, but the first one I ever personally owned was GoldenEye. And on GoldenEye, on that VHS, was the trailer for Heat. And I was like too young to have seen Heat and such, so I never saw it. But I just remember watching that trailer over and over again, and every time I watch it, like, I gotta find this movie.
It's epic.
To this day, stuck in my head is Al Pacino saying, "What do we got?"
Yeah. One of the best trailers
it's the first
you'll ever
line
see.
of the trailer. You hear that?
Oh my god, that movie just... I feel like I'm just watching it right now. It's so good. Man. But
man.
I understand that we want to move on to the top 10 best films of the year for everybody, or are we going to wait for Hawk to come back?
I think we've pretty much covered the new movie topics, so we're going to go ahead and close this podcast out, and we're going to open up a new one, and the new one is going to be top 10s. So,
sounds good.
Anyway, I want to thank you for joining us today on the new movie discussion. The top 10 will be posted shortly.
All right.
All right.